Hello my brothers and sisters in nerdiness, welcome back to the Spider's Web, and we're going to be finishing off the city wall staircase now. We're using the airbrush for this one, and what I've done already is I've primed it all black using the MDF Painter black one, and I'm just pointing to the lid colour, or the nozzle colour there rather than anything else. And then over that we've done a zenithal highlight kind of thing with Holford's Primer Grey, which is one of the grey, or when you ever see me use a grey primer, it's usually that one. I use that one in white, I think, and I also got a red one as well. So yeah, if you see grey, white, well, if you see grey and red at the moment, definitely that's the Halford's. White can either be Halford's or MDF Painter. This is the first paint we're going to be using. It's dark grey blue from Vallejo colour range. And we're just going to add this to various parts, just to add like a little shadow area, I suppose you would say. It's not necessarily shadow, but it's just to add a little bit of colour to it, a little bit more texture. We're not going incredibly precise over this. We're going down into the edges and the corners of certain areas, around the edges of the steps, up the corners of the walls, that kind of thing, and then a little bit of a little bit of colouring onto the actual brick surfaces as well. Now I'm not touching the outsides of this because they're going to be used interlocked with the other city wall pieces that I'm going to be making up shortly. So that's why there's like a bit that a bit on that side as you're looking at goes in, and this side it comes out. It sort of like slots in and makes up one big continuous wall section. So that's why I'm not touching the outside much at all. I've primed it, and I've gone over with the grey and whatnot. But that's about as far as I'm going with it. But now you can see I'm just adding a little bit of colour to the walls, and a little bit on the thingy battlements as well. However, I'm having trouble with this airbrush for some strange reason. Every now and again it gets a little bit clogged, and I don't know why. I'm thinning the paint. I've got it on a decent enough PSI. I just don't know what it is. So if anyone can give me any assistance or any advice, I don't know. It may be because it's just a cheap airbrush, I'm not sure. But it does the job that I want it to. But as I say, I just keep every now and again having this issue with it not working. But when it does, it works really wonderfully. I do that part though, then I suddenly realise what the hell am I doing, because that's not going to be seen. So again, we're just adding some colour onto the brickwork just to add a little bit more interest to the finished product. It's not really a set colour scheme that I'm doing for this, it's just wafting over with different greys. And I'll be doing this for most of the walls. Now we're also going to be using this Vallejo colour of light grey, and this is just to add some light areas, surprisingly enough. And we're going to add quite a few drops to this in the hope that it doesn't it doesn't block up, or whatever you want to call it. So we're just adding this to all the raised areas, and then we're going to add some to areas on the wall as well, just like we did with the last one. Again, just to add colour and a little bit more visual interest. You don't get to see it at the end with the end product, but it gives that little bit of dimension, shall we say, to it. There's more going on when you look at it than you can actually see, and yeah, it looks nice. So all over the little bits of battlements there, and then just a few little squirts down the outside of the wall. It's jammed up again, and after clearing it we come back and add more just to brighten it up, and it's gone again. I decided to take the O-ring off from the nozzle and give it a try with that, and it seems to work a lot better. So I don't know whether the O-ring was a little bit big that I'd got and it was causing some issues. I'm not sure, but it seems to work well enough now. So we just blast it with some of this light grey, and there we go. So what's next? Thank you. Again with the model, with the model range, it's Middlestone, and this one we're going to use just on certain bricks. We're not going everywhere with this, unlike the greys. We are picking out specific bricks with this. I could have done this with a brush, it would have made it easier, but for speed I decided just to use the brush. And we've dropped the PSI down a little bit. I can't remember what we're on, but we're trying to be more detailed with this. And as I say, we're picking out just the odd brick here and there. And this is what we're going to be doing with some different colours now, just as I say, to add a little bit more interest, as though there's different stones being used to make the different bricks. Well, I'm saying bricks, but it's a city wall, so it would be large stones, wouldn't it, rather than brick. Well, you're picking out the different things just to add a little bit more interest. So in this case we're using the middle stone, and then we'll be using other colours as well. And I enjoyed this. I'm sorry you can't see much of what I'm doing at the moment, but it's very difficult to actually put this in a place where you can see what I'm doing for a lot of the time, especially with a model like this, where on one side it's opened up and you can see everything I'm doing, and the other side it's sort of like recessed. Now we're going to be using some more Vallejo Modeler, and this is Burnt Umber. This is a nice chocolatey brown colour, and again we're picking out stones on this. I've not washed out the airbrush for this bit because this colour is darker than the last one, so I've no real need to. But again, just random blocks of stone just to make it look a little different. I can't say this enough. When you're doing stones like this, you don't want them all looking monotonous grey, because, well, you don't want to make them look a uniform grey because it does look monotonous. You want something that's going to add a little bit of interest and sort of attract your attention somewhat. Now, again, I had a little bit of trouble, so I've just taken the O-ring off though, as you can see. And you can see from the water there that's been blown about so that it's worked. So now we're going on to Ferrari Red again, Vallejo model colour. And once more, just the odd brick here and there. I keep saying brick, but you know what I mean. It's not brick, it's a stone, but there we are. So once again, just to make it look a little more colourful, a little less monotonous, well, a little less boring to look at, we just add these colours in, and you know, you've got a little bit of interest there. Now along the top I'm not going to do anything along the walkway. These belong to Andy from Wigan Wargames. I'm just doing the basics for him. I'm getting it built, I'm getting it coloured in. If he'd like to do anything along the top to hide the little tabs and whatnot, he's more than welcome to do it. Now I've noticed at the bottom there's a gap between the wall and the base. So what I've done is I'm getting some Mod Podge, as you can see. and cover the base on that with that, and then over it sprinkle some very fine sand. This is children's play sand. You can get a big bag from supermarkets for relatively cheap. And I decided, let's get a little bit of clump foliage. Get some super glue. That as well is that also is blocked, so get a pin, unblock the nozzle, and then put some around the bottom, and then get me tweezers and apply the clump foliage to the bottom to make it look as though there's something growing down at the bottom, because you usually don't see it just going straight into the dirt. There's usually some form of plants growing down there. So that's what we'll do. Give it a squirt with accelerant, and that's it, sealed. So, vanilla and dark earth. You couldn't do this with a brush, but you can with an airbrush. So if you use the brush, you'll be brushing all of the sand off. But I just thought I'd give this a try just to see how it works. And I can quite literally colour the sand that I've just put on using the dark earth, and a bit over the walls just to give it that little dirty texture at the bottom. Clean it all out, and then once it's all clean, nice and dry outside, get everything out, make sure there's none of that brown left in, squirt it into a little bit of what do you call it, paper towel. We'll go with some light green. And we're just going to go over the grass, or the tufts with that, the flocking. What is it called? Clump foliage, that was it. We'll go over that with that, and that's all we're doing. Possibly a little bit on the walls just to indicate some moss or something growing up there, but other than that, that's all we're doing with there. Now we'll get CD palette out and some mahogany. Sulcus, that's it. Mahogany model colour. And I'll paint any areas that I think are wood. So I'm going to put these little jutty out bits in because I think they're wooden supports. And I've decided I'm going to do the long jutty out bit as well that goes across it. Now, it may or may not be wood, but who knows, who cares? It's a fantasy building, so it doesn't have to be real life, as it were. So I decided I was going to try and dry brush it, and then I realised, no, you don't dry brush it until you give it a wash. So this is Amy Painter's Dark Tone. I shouldn't have used this. I should have made up some kind of wash myself, but I used it. Don't use this dark tone for much, but this went on really well onto here and brought out the texture of the MDF as well. So I don't know what to do in future, but I think what I'll probably do is actually make up some wash of my own. That way I can make more of it and I'm not wasting a lot, because this, as you'll see in a second, it took a lot of this wash and I don't have much of it left. So for big pieces like this, save your tubs of wash and make your own. It's easy enough to make. Paint, water, a little bit of flow medium, dishwashing soap, or if you've got any shop bought medium, you can use that as well. But that's all you need to make the wash. Now it's just a case then of letting the wash dry and then we can come back to dry brush. Well, that's all we need to do. Just make sure that it doesn't pool up too much and you're away. Okay, it's dried and we're going to be dry brushing. See how those colours now make it look a little more interesting. I mean, it's not Probably not realistic, but again, it's fantasy. So CD palette's coming back, and we have our dry brush there, and this time we're using a new paint for me, Mummy Robes. I got this from Mike at the Games Club. So we're just going to put a spot down there, put the brush in, get it covered, trace on the back of the hand. The brush is a little bit damp for some reason. Oh yes, where I tried to wash it, clean it after I did the initial dry brush before I started washing. So make sure it's dry, put it on the back of your hand, make sure you're picking out any little imperfections in your hand, you know, any little wrinkles and whatnot. And then dry brush all over, making sure it's in a downward motion. And that way it'll look better because you're just picking up the top areas rather than picking up every little bit if you do like a circular motion. So if you've enjoyed this video, you can always give us a like, and if you're enjoying the series, you can click the notification bell after you've subscribed. The notification bell will allow you to see any notifications of future videos I put up. And you could always buy me a coffee or rather become a patron, and that will help financially support the channel. But that's all we have. No, it's not. We're using desert yellow. This is my painter's desert yellow. We're going to pop a little bit on the thing, mix it in with some of the Mummy Robes, and just touch here and there on the wooden areas. Just go along the top edge and dabble a bit. If it looks a bit excessive, you can wipe it off and you just get the basics there. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you've got some useful information out of it. But until next time, as always, stay safe and take care. God bless, and bye for now.